Alright, so I tried to get the admins to invite Zombie Grub because she didn't, I don't know, they wouldn't do it, so that kind of sucked. Whatever, we find ourselves back in this though. And yeah, it's currently 4-2 in the favor of Team Liquid. Impact's not a bad choice. I really like Impact's choice. We'll talk about that more in a moment, though. Let's get introductions underway. One win away from it all, guys. Spawning here in the bottom right corner of King Sejong Station, the blue Terran player, Team Liquid's Taeja. His opponent top left from Axiom Esports for the second time today. We find the red Zerg player, Axiom's Impact. So this is an intelligent choice for a lot of reasons. I think Impact, first off, does have it in him to beat Taeja. It's not going to be easy. I really like Impact's ZVT, though. On the same note, though, he's also pretty well set for a lot of the other players behind this. Now, granted, it's a little bit scary because let's assume they sent out Snoot to follow it, right? And I've been saying Snoot's name all day because I really think Snoot would be the follow-up to Taeja. I would say TLO, but TLO's already played type thing. But what's kind of unfortunate for Axiom at this point is this is the last play they could play today. They're one loss away from losing it all, and if Impact's done for, whether it's this game, the next game, or the next game, that's going to be it. Team Liquid will walk away today victorious. But he's got a real chance, a legit chance against Taeja. As long as nothing too crazy or weird happens, he gets to play a standard macro game. Impact's got a real shot here. And as said before, guys, again, currently Axiom sits at number 4 at the moment as of this cast in the rankings. This isn't exactly going to drop them down to last place if they lose today, but of course, coming up towards the end of the season, I think they only have 2 matches left behind this, which are matches they will most likely win, but still, a not perfect score by any means. Team Liquid, though, sitting on 6-1 at the moment, could possibly be 7-1 today. They've got a lot of matches to play out, or a couple matches left rather themselves, but I think they're pretty set. Even if they lose today, I think they're in a pretty good spot to take top 4 finish guaranteed for the Ace Team Story Cup. Either way, we're going to see a Reaper open up here out of Taeja. This is a nice map because it's got that nice little backwards cliff, and kind of a cool trick that I saw from Hinchlisk recently, guys. If you put your spawning pole down here, it actually gives you vision of this cliff. You don't have to worry about hiding an Overlord over there. But we'll see how many he invests into here. 2 is pretty standard, I would say. 3 is kind of risque. I like 3. I think 3 is a really good play to do it if handled correctly, but the problem is, it's such an investment that if you don't do much with the 3rd Reaper, it ends up being a huge detriment because it delays your Hellions by a significant amount. That extra 50 gas goes a long way when you're trying to crank out a factory. But okay, first Reaper's going to get in. We'll see what it can find. At the moment, it's not going to be a lot. Okay, just dancing with the Lings, typical dance of the Reaper, doesn't want to get too far into the creep. Speed is on the way, and that's actually one of the key things that the Reaper does scout here. Recognizing the fact that, you know, with the gas being up this early, with the spawning pool jiggling and wiggling the way it was, he's on the clock. Right around 5.5 minutes, 6 minutes, that's when you get really worried with these Reapers. That's when you're going to want to start considering disengaging. Taeja's actually opted to go for the 3rd Reaper despite seeing this earlier gas. Not sure how this decision will work out for him, because if you don't kill enough of these Lings early, okay, well, one actually finally dies. You're certainly not going to get through to the Queens, but still finds a way to continue the aggression here on the Queen. Now, this one Queen's going to go back towards the main. It should be safe for the time being. A 3rd one's coming out here in a moment's time with 2 Queens on the front lines. If these Zerglings were dead, the Reapers could start diving, but the Zerglings did not die. They're still alive. They're going to soak these hits. They're going to chew and eat and basically buffer for the Queens. And Impact shouldn't really lose a Queen if this is handled correctly. May lose a drone, though. Does get a nice little drone snipe, but it's going to cost him a Reaper, and that's definitely not an even trade, not by any stretch of the imagination. He's still retained 2, though, for the Hellion follow-up. If you guys have ever seen Hellions on their own versus Hellions with Reapers, there is such a big difference. It's almost laughable how big of a difference it is. Now, losing the 3rd Reaper, okay, that would have given a little extra buffer, a little bit of extra DPS to the Reapers, or sorry, to the Reaper Hellion follow-up, but I think with 2 Reapers, they'll still be fine. 2 Reapers was the standard for a long time, after all. Speedlings are not going to be the easiest things to deal with, though. A couple SCVs might need to be pulled. He's going to have to dance around really nicely here, but Impact's actually not controlling or focus firing the Lings, so he doesn't actually get anything for them. That's worth noting. I didn't actually talk about it, too, but as we get close to possibly being the end of the day, as this push starts coming out here, it's worth noting the Partoof bets at the moment, guys, by the way, were 3,900 in the favor of Axiom and 2,000 on Team Liquid. So perhaps going to be the underdogs, quote-unquote, today that take it. It's weird to ever in my life consider Team Liquid being the underdogs, but I guess crowd favoritism goes a long way. Alright, back it up with the Hellions for the time being. I mean, for Taeja, a lot of this attack comes down to like really keeping creep at bay more than actually diving for drones and mineral lines. We've seen it before in the past where someone will go for that crazy sort of dive in, but yeah, it's not something you necessarily want to do unless you have to or the opportunity presents itself. Now, focusing fire on top of the Hellion means that those Reapers won't soak the buffer, they won't heal up for it, and that's actually some real damage that will last. That's a lot of Hellions now. Only one of them is low, so the Queens could possibly die here. Third base is kind of up, but the clock is ticking once again. While Speedlings will chase back Reapers, Mutalisks will chase back the Hellions and the Reapers. And of course, once that happens, they're gonna have to worry about getting some anti-air up at home. Now we do have a Viking coming out of Taeja, starting to clean up some of the Overlords there. That's why we see a bit of a supply block here out of Impact. Kind of sucks actually. He's gonna have to make another Overlord after this because another one's about to die. 2 kills on that Viking so far. Even though it's Taeja, we're still gonna call it the Pult Viking because it is. No one else knows it better than that. Everyone else does it better than that, man. What am I saying here? But 1-1 on the way here for our Zerg player. Pretty standard stuff. Typically, you do see the upgrades come out a bit earlier. Taeja's 1-1 is actually really delayed right now. And I think a lot of this is because not only is engineering base late, he's been spending a lot of gas to getting these reactors and tech labs up, prioritizing unit production over technology, I guess you could say it. Because a lot of the times, only just now are the barracks being put down. Only just now are the reactors being added onto it. But instead, he's already producing 2 Widow Mines at a time, potentially between 5 and 6 Marines once these extra barracks finish up here as well. So he's going to have a lot of units to play with, something that normally perhaps Impact would be unexpecting. These couple links might be able to kill an SCV or 2, but this is not exactly going to kill the third base by any means. And there's the Mutalisk reveal. So he's going to have to back up with the Hellions. It's important, you know, the Reapers can die. It's important he keeps the Hellions alive. Again, coming forward in the game, only for the first engagement, because they will die right away. They'll soak up a lot of hits from the Banelings. They'll deal a lot of damage to the Banelings. They'll kill SCVs, or sorry, not SCVs. Well, hopefully not SCVs. He'll kill Zerglings as they try to run by and dive past for the Marines. So, Taeja's Hellions, really important to keep them alive. But for Impact right now, he's got a lot of Mutalisks that he wants to do some harass with, and there's not a lot of doors open and available to him. I hope he'll be able to pick up an SCV, disengage, but ooh, was that a Widow Mine hit? That was a Widow Mine hit. So these Mutalisks are a little bit too weak to go back for round numero 2 right away. I guess I should say numero dos. At least keep the poor language that I can't speak consistent. Or the not poor as in the language is poor. My grasping of the language is poor. At any rate, with that 1-1 coming up in a moment's time, maybe he wants to try and take engagements, maybe he doesn't. A lot of this revolves more around 2-2, I feel, for Zerg players than 1-1. He will catch almost the medevac. That's a lot of Widow Mines coming out early, though, for Taeja. Again, his production was prioritized over his upgrades, so he's got a lot more to play with than you normally would expect out of a Terran player. And Impact, he's got to get those Banelings going. But even if he does, let's not forget, with this many Widow Mines down, this isn't like the 1 or 2 you normally see with this push. This is about 6 Widow Mines that are going to be behind these Marines. There's only 4 on the front lines right now, but again, producing 2 at a time. Gets a couple of decent hits off. Doesn't have any left for the Banelings, though, but the Banelings are never going to chase off a creep. However, this medevac's really low, and Impact's that boost runs out, he's going to catch it. It's full of Marines. So in hot pursuit is he, and he will catch that medevac. He had about 4 Marines with it as well. Not a great situation there for Taeja. Could have gone a little bit better, if we're going to be honest. But on 4 bases himself, and the Hellions looking to scoot around to see if there was another base being taken over here. He's in a pretty good spot. Hellbat's being produced right now, over top of Hellions, over top of Widow Mines. This is something that we're seeing become more and more common. Again, it's kind of like guaranteed low end versus risky high end. But with the Hellbats coming up, they'll soak the hits better from Banelings, they'll deal more damage to the Zerglings, and while they can't shoot up like the Widow Mines can, they'll keep more Marines alive. And quite frankly, guys, if you can keep an extra 4 or 7 Marines alive, it's way better than keeping an extra Widow Mine alive. The hit from a Widow Mine, yeah, it's guaranteed to kill 1 Mutalisk, but it's also kind of risky whether it gets that money shot to get a lot of splash damage on the others. And once the Overseers start coming in too, we so oftentimes in this matchup just see the Widow Mines go down before they can do any damage. Before they can arm in the slightest, the Mutalisk will pick them off. But yeah, there's a lot of Zerglings here. But I think the Hellbats are a big fear for Impact. Now, while he does have speed finish up for these banelings, you're not going to want to engage off of creep. Not if you can afford it. If that Widowmine had stayed burrowed, it would have gotten some pretty nice hits, but trying to stim past the Hellbats, they're going to be on the front lines. They will soak up a good chunk of those banelings, and now in full retreat, he's actually going to run into other banelings that came in from behind. Surprise! But with a quick pickup, Taeja doesn't flinch, not for 1 second. Banelings still rolling in here. He's spread out pretty nicely behind it. He should have the Marine count to deal with this, but he's got to spread, and he's got to make sure he doesn't take unnecessary hits. Unfortunately, Impact doesn't quite have the Mutalisks count right now. Later on, when this number kind of balls up to 25, 30, you can continue fighting Marines like that in low numbers, but not quite this early. I don't know where the hell those extra banelings came from. Like magic, they appeared behind them. Impact cast like a summoning spell or something, but that was a really good engagement for him. Now, no, he can't quite snipe the engineering base for free. That would have been, of course, the perfect scenario, but oh, looking away for just 1 second, catches a couple of Mutalisks off guard. Worth noting, guys, there's no lag being factored into this game, hopefully, as they're both playing from Korea to Korea, so not sitting here on the North American or the European server or anything quite weird like that. And that's probably the best case scenario, too. For Taeja, who's got a micro. For Impact, who's got a micro. Would love to see more banelings come out. Blue Flame on the way is going to start planning into this really nicely, so he will continue to invest into this sort of... I'm not going to go as far as to call it like a mech blend, but it kind of technically is. You get a lot of Hellbats again over top of the Widowmines as the priority. Weapon upgrades coming out as well for Taeja. You know, sometimes we see armor upgrades, but that's, again, it's more beneficial to Medivacs and Widowmines. In this scenario, he's looking to benefit the Hellbats and the Thors a little bit more. More banelings were snuck down here to the south, so we may have that sort of secondary attack coming in, where once again, you know, Taeja's retreating away from the banelings, only into other banelings. But Impact being very careful not to reveal these. Actually sends a couple Zerglings forward to scout. Why did he hold position that? What? That was really awkward to watch. The production for Taeja is looking really nice though, guys. He's got so many barracks available. He's got so much through these double factories. Once that Blue Flame finishes up, it's going to be very difficult for Impact. Because again, these Hellbats right now, they deal a very moderate amount of damage. 21 versus light. Again, I never understood how this differentiates with 1 damage for the upgrades. Because it's 1 per upgrade. But once that Blue Flame kicks in, that's a whole nother story. Look at this. Now all of a sudden 33. So it gets a whole extra 10 bonus damage. It's going to be huge. Drop here in the north. Not going to get a lot done. Banelings and Zerglings are prepared, ready to deal with this. And a couple of Mutalisks will start chasing this down. But looks like the Banelings try to get into that mineral line. Taeja was a little too quick with the response and pulled a lot of the SCVs. So only 3 workers died in total. Well, I guess 4 in total, but 3 new ones died. There you go. That phrase is a little bit better. For Impact, though, this passive sort of gameplay out of both players, this gives him the chance to go for Hive Tech, something that a lot of Zerg players tend to get stuck on. In this scenario, he's perfectly fine to go for it. But if Taeja forces a good engagement in the middle of the map, that could all change in an instant. Now, a couple of the Marauders mixed in here are really nice. They're going to not only be able to pop off concussive shells on a couple of the Banelings, but again, for Taeja, it's put these bulky units on the front line. You put the Marauders and the Hellbats in the front, the Thors in the front, and you just stem the Marines backwards to keep them alive against these Mutalisks for later on. The Mutalisks count, by the way, is getting a little bit heavy right now, up to 29, but as the Thors come out, these can stop. They have to stop bunching up so much. If they keep clumping up, they're going to die very quickly. But as he gets in here, there's only a turret to defend, and Taeja's entire army's on the other side of the field. Now, this is something it's very hard for Terran players to pick whether to defend or fight in this scenario. Same kind of goes for the Zerg. You want to do as much damage as you can with these Mutalisks, but at the same time, by not having them at home, you yield a lot of your defense. Banelings are morphing in right now, and the amounts of 27 on top of the ones he already has brings him up to 61 Banelings. And if we're going to be honest, guys, if you've got 61 Banelings, not only are you pretty much hunting it up, to coin a phrase, he's got so much that he's going to be able to throw these away into the Thors, into the Marines, into the Marauders, and still come out ahead, as long as the Mutalisks do not die. And oh my god, that is so many Banelings. But he can't keep them clumped like this. He's got to split them up. 3 different segments would probably be the best way to engage this, but he's revealed that the Baneling count is so insanely high. It's not like Taeja can do anything different too, like, you know, you don't build different units all of a sudden to deal with this. But these are going to cause a lot of damage pretty much no matter what. Left side of the map, we got a bit of a drop going off here, so I'm not sure if he'll segment Banelings back or the Mutalisks, but the Mutalisks appear to be going full bore across the map to go for a bit of counterattack damage. This was never rebuilt, and I guess there's just been idle SCVs this whole time. Bit awkward here as he tries to retreat back home, is cut off by Taeja's forces. And Taeja's forces, whoa, what are these Banelings doing so weirdly out of position? More Banelings are coming in. We got an Ultra Scavenger behind this. Impact is putting a lot of gas into this, guys. And in any other scenario, this is kind of acceptable. But he doesn't have a huge bank to work off of here. This is going to be guaranteed to do a lot of damage in one attack. But that's kind of the key thing there, one attack. This 5th base is going to need to be canceled for surezies. And he's up to 79 Banelings? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Who has this many banelings? Queens are going to try to snipe off the medevac. Might be able to catch it, but this is going to force the fight here on the right side of the field for sure. We got the first set of banelings going to try and go in here. They do dodge out past these first helmets. There's not a lot of medevacs on the front lines to heal these up, so these marauders, these helmets, they are being taken out pretty quickly. But at the same time, for impact, he's still got 65 banelings behind this. He might try and wrap in from multiple angles, but he's got to be careful he doesn't lose this base. Where are the mutalisks in this? Oh, they were picking up the drop in the main. Now they come back. This is a base that shouldn't die, and they shouldn't have taken this many banelings to clean up the marauders. Quite frankly, the mutalisk should have been here on the front lines, ready to defend against this. He drives Taeja back, granted, but at the cost of a lot of banelings. But killing those banelings cleaned up a lot of supply, and now he's able to start squeezing in a couple of ultralisks. Now, you don't need to have a ton of ultralisks. Honestly, 10 is probably even bad in this case. I would love to see 3 or 4. I think this would be the perfect number for this scenario, as they do pair well with these mutas. And actually, with nothing here to defend, a couple turrets will not be enough to stop these mutalisks, as they will one-volley them down. He loses but like 1 mutalisk for this. Has to be careful, they're clumped up so heavily. There are Thors waiting to just get that splash damage off. Taeja is locked down to 4 bases for the time being. Well, granted, it's more like 2 because of the economy for the first has been kind of mined out, but this is kind of awkward for impact because you got to wonder, like, do you keep the mutalisk count high? It's a hard balance to decide upon, but Ultralisk, Banelings, and Zerglings are not going to be too bad to have either. Zerglings, of course, and Ultra's going to have that 3-3 finish up in a moment's time, but he also glazed past chitinous plating, or has ignored it for the time being. A big mistake, I would say, honestly. Because chitinous plating is the difference of Marines doing a lot of damage versus no damage. That extra 2 armor is really what makes it so that you need Thors. You have to have Marauders. Whereas Marines, their damage, again, it's really low, but it attacks fast. It doesn't matter how fast you attack, though, if you're only doing 1 damage at a time, is kind of the logic here. But Rocks looks like they're going to be cleaned up. Double base is being taken from impact right now, and I love the idea of starting to get these borrowed banelings out. The problem is, as he starts to advance and creep forward, it's going to be encouraging Taeja to scan more. And if he scans, he's going to find the borrowed banelings. A couple of alerts here in the top right will be picked off. This might supply block Taeja, or sorry, impact again. Granted, he's maxed, so not a big deal, but yeah, he's forced to make more overlords. If he responds suitably to the drop, this could open a pathway in the middle of the map for impact to possibly lose that 5th base in the central portion of the map. This is not how I expected this one to play out, honestly, between these two, but I gotta say, Impact's handling this pretty well. Taeja has not been given any free reign to do a lot of damage, and these drops have been shut down at pretty much every turn. I don't really know that they've done a lot. The first one over here will kill the base, which is nice. It's a start. But like I said before, it's not really getting a whole lot done. This one drop's going to be hard to respond to. Some Ultralists are here on the front lines, and we got some Banelings still burrowed. But they don't go off on Marauders. You don't want them to go off on Marauders. It's the Marines that are kind of the sweet nougaty center that you want to kill. So we got no Adrenal Glands. We've got no chitinous plating. I feel these are 2 very important upgrades that Impact's, again, probably forgotten more so than intentionally not gone for, but the Banelings were cleaned up by the looks of it. Some few of these are going to be, yeah, Changeling's going to be fried alive. But for Impact, one of the greatest things he has to do, and this isn't like want or desire, like he has to, through necessity, is attack from multiple angles. There's a lot of Thors here, so the Mutalisks, even if they magic box, are going to struggle to kill these. The Ultralisks might even go down to these. I mean, Thors hit so freaking hard. But the Banelings are going to collide, and the Ultras get right on in here. As these Thors start going down, they also pick off quite a few Mutalisks on their way out. The Banelings run right past those, though, and he's actually move commanding them into the Marines. Good control here out of Impact, choosing where and what to fight. He annihilates Taeja's army, but there's, oh my god, an SCV line that's going to get connected upon. Another few are going to go down, and quite frankly, there's not a lot left for either player. But the difference is Impact is left with enough they can kill Marines, which will be quickly produced, but he can't deal with the 5 Marauders at a time. Rarely do you find a Terran player who's producing this much of both. It's usually 13 Marines or 5 Marauders, as tech labs are swapped off, but Taeja has so much production. Not only is he producing 5 Marauders at a time, it's 2 Thors at a time as well. He's actually got a monster production line going on right now, and this is going to keep Impact from winning the game right now. Granted, as we move forward here, we see some cool tactics like burying the Ling, dropping some creep, we got Pasturing Glands on the way, but I fear Impact might be making too many Ultralisks right now. This is a very common mistake we see a lot of the time, where it's like, hey, you know, what's a good way to throw the game? Make too many Ultralisks. So right now he's maxed out once again, but he's got 5 Infestors behind this as well. So it's not like these are just Ultralisks. Ultralisk Infestors, Banelings, Mutalisks, these are all units that do complement one another, and there's even some Queens that were pulled to do some transfuses. Granted, they didn't get to, but yeah, Taeja won't be taking a new base here anytime soon, not until he scans it. He's not going to know he needs to scan it until he tries to drop the command center on it. Although Taeja's kind of a ghost, so he might just do it anyways out of habit. Out of fear, paranoia, whatever the case may be. Now, the big thing about the fungal growths that are coming into effect, guys, it's not about letting the Marines take the extra damage, the Marauders take the extra damage. The only thing that really shuts these Ultras down in open engagement areas is going to be the fact that they can get kited around fairly easily. Stim makes units move so much faster, and Ultras, well, they're frenzied, so they don't take the slowing effect of those concussive shells. But drop over here will distract him, and looks like the Infestors will sneak away, just barely. But the base still goes down, which kind of sucks. Impact has a pretty nice bank growing for him right now, honestly. I mean, he's got a lot of bases still mining. He's even got minerals in the main for like the late game desperation scenario, but as we see, the command center is going to be denied here for a moment's time. A little bit annoying. But one of the big things, again, for Ultras that stops them more than anything else is Sim City. Now, while there's no buildings here to perform the Sim City, the Thors certainly can on a good hold position. But a very small portion of the army, through these mules, being dedicated towards the main, but there's a lot of turrets here to stop them. There's a huge amount of turret missile range set up around the map. And right now, Taeja's doing a really good thing in keeping his army back / spread out. Now, it's clumped up again here, but every time he gets ready to fight, he pre-spreads it out. And that's going to be more important than ever, as again, fungal growths are going to catch these units clumped up and deal a ton of damage. 2 Banelings here are ready to go off if given the opportunity, but unfortunately not given the opportunity. As the Ultras start chasing the Marines, they may start cutting backwards, and that's where these 2 Banelings may come in with their moment to shine, but a fungal growth goes on top of everything. We got Ultras flanking in from the backside. Will this be enough for impact? This is the big question. This army's starting to get broken. Let's not forget, we got the Mutalisks coming back into the fray. They're going to pick off these medevacs. They're going to start shutting this down, but the Ultras have pretty much been taken care of at this point, and there's no Zerglings behind this. And even if there was a flood of Zerglings behind this, he's only making 9 Ultralisks. Oh, God. I was going to say, even if there's Zerglings behind this, there's no adrenal glands. Again, chitinous plating has been forgotten about, and I feel that's one of the biggest detriments to impact at this point in the game, because his bank is starting to be exhausted on these remaxing of units that are not optimized. Again, 4 armor versus 6. It's the big difference between Marines being able to deal damage, much less the Marauders and the Thors. I can't help but this is like one of the biggest mistakes he could make right now by investing so heavily in Ultras. Like, if he was only making 3 or 4, right? Not a big deal. But because he's invested in so many Ultralisks so far this game, 10 have died, another 9 are coming out. These are very expensive, very bulky units that he has not maximized upon. Now he doesn't have the money to do it is the problem. Before he did, now he doesn't. And Taeja's looking to push in here. He might just end Impact's life with 1 good attack, 1 decisive engagement, because Impact's now locked down to 1 base mining. Well, 2 bases at the moment, but it might not be the case for much longer. I like the 5 more Infestors coming out. Pathogen Glands will be okay. I mean, Pathogen Glands let you pick an engagement, but it doesn't auto-win you an engagement. Quite frankly, on top of fungal growths, Infested Terrans may be a little bit better in these rare circumstances where there's not a heavy Marine count, where it's more Marauders and more Thor-focused. Actually, there's very little Marines comparison to what you would normally see. Turrets are really struggling to kill these Mutalisks too. There's a hell of a lot of them, but still, Taeja quick to respond with Marines down here. Not looking too smart, or not smart, what am I saying here? Not looking too great here for impact. Still moving forward, though, he's got a lot of energy on these Infestors. There's going to be plenty of fungal growths, but again, a fungal growth's not going to win him the game. He does have burrows, so he can run away if he can. The Broad Banelings are starting to really kind of, I guess, time out here. I like this thing run by. This is gonna be kind of nice. Mutalisks are still looking to get some attack paths in. There's not a lot defending this base, but there's not anything to pick off here either is the problem. Maybe some of the production, pick off tech labs, force your opponent to just make Marines. But a drop's actually being sent back home to the natural. A couple of Banelings are gonna roll in here, but it's a planetary fortress, so 4 Banelings will not be enough. You're gonna need more like 8 or 10. Left side of the map, though, is being pushed upon. All the Infestors get caught out in the middle of the map. That's gonna really hurt. There's only about 5 behind this? 5 Infestors left behind this. Zerglings get on top of this, but again, no Adrenal Glands means they're attacking 20% slower than they should. No Chitinous Plating on these Ultras means they're taking way more damage than they should. He's gonna push in here. He's gonna land a couple more Fungals, but he's only got about 1 or 2 left. These Infestors, actually, I take that back. He's got about 3 left in there, but still, not a situation you want to push into necessarily. A couple of Lings managed to squeeze through these rocks and did get to the main. But unless these Lings kill every single supply depot, it's not like Taeja's gonna be supply blocked anytime soon. The Mutalisks are still dancing around the map. And I like, honestly, it sounds so stupid, guys. I like the idea of investing in Zerglings and Banelings so much more than Ultralisks at this point. I don't think he knows he doesn't have chitinous plating. It's such an automatic habit. Like, you just make chitinous plating, so you don't even think about it. It's automatic. But he hasn't thought about it, and he has forgotten about it. You know, with the, again, like, with the heavier emphasis here on Thors and Marauders by the looks of it, I mean, it's hard to justify going Lings when your opponent has Hellbats. But, I mean, it's not like these ultras are working out too great, and it's not like the infestors are even getting the super fungals that they need. I kind of think like heavier lings and banelings are going to pay off a lot better, because at least even if the banelings die, they do damage. Something that's not really been afforded to, or maybe just go mass mutas. I mean, he's going to pick off this drop. Okay, really nice. Okay, nice. Okay, nices. Okays. Zergling's still in the main here, looking to get on top of this. Maybe pick off a tech lab, maybe pick off a reactor or two. But he goes for the one on the starport, and there's not really been a lot of medevac production or necessity for a majority of this game. I mean, Taeja's kind of had the same medevacs for the entire game. Look how low they are. They're battle veterans. Impact's got no money though, guys. This is what's really painful to watch. He's got 2 bases, but he's using every mineral, every bit of gas he gets as he gets it. Which means there's no room to get those additional upgrades. He's going to try and take a fight in the middle of the map again. The army gets stibbed, and we're going to see a fungal growth go off on a decent portion of it, but there's just too many marauders here. The ultralist count is too lopsided. There's even queens here pulled for transfuse energy, but more lings did flood by. More lings did sneak here into the main, but they've not been able to compromise the production. He's been trying to for a long time, but he's not been able to pull it off. Oh, he scans. A couple of these lings reposition though. I mean, keeping up the harass is kind of cool, but it's just not going to cut it. These Banelings in the middle of the map get a decent hit off on a couple of those Marines. A pretty good explosion for 2 Banelings, but not enough to exactly win him the war. Impact has been doing a lot of cool moves this game. Good fungal growth here on the top half of the army away from the medevacs. He's actually going to catch the rest of the army, but there's still more Marines filtering in. And once again, I bring attention to the fact that Marines can actually deal with Ultralists in this scenario. They don't have chitinous plating. Marines deal so much damage more than they normally do, but he loses a good chunk of everything. Being kited back once again, Taeja only has really minerals to work with right now, so we don't see Thors being reproduced. We don't see additional Marauders. Well, we see 5 Marauders. I should take that back coming out, but for the most part, Taeja has not a lot of gas to work with, and honestly, if it comes down to mineral versus mineral units, Zerglings are not going to be too bad of a remax, because you're going to be able to make 40 of them and send them across the map right away. This is such a low econ situation for both players. Taeja does have this new base up, but he's not exactly dropping 100 mules there anytime soon. And even if he does, again, he's got minerals to work with, he just doesn't have gas. So 8 Marines at a time, not going to be a problem. Some more Banelings are coming out, but this new planetary fortress, oh, it's hard to decide where to put the focus of this. Fungal growth is pretty whiffed there. He doesn't have a lot of infestors behind this. Gotta be so careful the way he fights does Impact right now, because his life is on the line. He can't afford to remake his army. Neither can Taeja, really, granted, but still, Impact doesn't have an army he can afford to lose right now. This is not disposable the way we sometimes see it to be, and Queens are not popping off transfuses. They're going down with a lot of energy available. There we go, some transfuses now get involved in the fight. Zergling's still on the front lines doing what they can to buffer, but Banelings. He needs some Banelings, but he doesn't have any gas to work with. He doesn't have any money to work with. Taeja at the same time, by the way, still just pumping out Marines. I mean, if it comes down to a straight A move, Marines stemmed are going to beat out Zerglings every single day, every single time. Planetary Fortress is going to try and hold here a little bit, but these the SUVs are actually just straight up pulled? Okay. Lots of Banelings coming in now. This is kind of like the bank he's been saving up for, but these might get picked off. Why are you abandoning these? Okay, pulls them away. Zerglings in the main still not being utilized. We got a couple Corruptors coming out. We had a Greater Spire earlier. Are these going to be your Broodlords? I say with a question mark, like Broodlords versus Bio? I can't imagine that's going to be the case to work out too well, but drop over here on the left side, again, going to be trying to clean up. Oh my god, if he seriously goes for Broodlords before he goes for, like, again, no adrenal glands, so no benefits to any of the melee units right now. Broodlings or Zerglings specifically, but again, no chitinous plating for the amount of Ultras that have been invested into this game. How many have died? 14 have died so far. That's a lot of money gone, guys. The Corruptor actually, well, pick up the medevac. Not too shabby. But the Greater Spire is actually being focused down, curiously enough, so he's going to have to make these pretty quick. I don't know what the Greater Spire is really going to accomplish. I mean, the Broodlords are not a terrible choice. They're free units, right? Like, okay, you can't go for Swarm Host, you'll go for Broodlords, right? But this isn't really an amount of Broodlords that's going to win him the game. They're free units, but they're not buffer in the same way Zerglings and Banelings are going to be forming. He will back up into the Spine Cores to help a little bit with this, and the Broodlords are finishing in a moment's time. He's got to keep these away from the Broodlord, though, as the Marines try and stim underneath this. The Ultras are dwindling quickly, and GG is finally going to be called. Taeja will close it out for Team Liquid. 5-2 in the end, in the favor of Team Liquid over Axiom. Personally, a little sad to see Axiom go down, but at the same time, Axiom and Liquid are probably my 2 favorite teams. The fact that I got to cast them together, I couldn't be happier at the moment.